Is Canada's temporary foreign worker program about to be removed? Many workers and employers are now asking this as the Canadian government tightens immigration policies. But the short answer is no. The program is not being removed, though it is undergoing major reforms that could impact thousands of people. Let's dive in. The Temporary Foreign Worker Program, known as TFWP, allows Canadian employers to hire foreign nationals to fill labor shortages when qualified Canadians or permanent residents are unavailable. It's a vital part of Canada's labor market, especially in agriculture, healthcare, hospitality, and construction. But rising public concerns about housing shortages, cost of living, and alleged exploitation of foreign workers have forced policymakers to rethink how this program operates. In 2024 and 2025, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, and Employment and Social Development Canada, ESDC, announced significant new restrictions to manage temporary immigration levels and better protect workers. First, Ottawa is reducing its reliance on low-wage temporary workers to bring the temporary resident population from around 6.8% of Canada's total population to just 5% by 2027. To achieve this, the government has capped the proportion of low-wage TFWs that many employers can hire to just 10% of their workforce, except in critical sectors such as agriculture, healthcare, and construction. In regions where unemployment is high, LMIA applications for low-wage positions will be refused outright. This ensures that Canadian job seekers are prioritized in markets where sufficient local labor exists. Second, the maximum duration for low-wage LMIAs has been reduced from 2 years to just 1 year, increasing administrative burdens for employers and making temporary foreign workers' employment status less stable. Third, employers must now provide much more rigorous proof of legitimate business operations. They can no longer simply rely on letters from accountants or lawyers to show their company is active. Instead, they must present concrete operational evidence such as bank records, tax filings, and contracts. Fourth, the government has doubled penalties for employers found violating worker rights or abusing the system. Public disclosure of non-compliant employers and increased inspection powers are key parts of this crackdown. Fifth, work permits for spouses of temporary foreign workers and international students are now limited. As of January 21, 2025, spouses will only be eligible for open work permits if the principal applicant is working in an occupation classified under Canada's in-demand tier categories or is enrolled in a graduate-level study program. This policy reduces the automatic ability of families to come and work in Canada, which the government hopes will alleviate housing and social services pressures. However, amid this tightening, there's a notable flexibility. Employer-specific work permit holders can now continue working for their current employer while waiting for approval on new work permit applications. This temporary measure, extended in May 2025, prevents many workers from falling out of status and being forced to stop working simply due to administrative delays. Why is the Canadian government making these changes? Several reasons. First, there is mounting evidence of exploitation within the TFWP. News reports and advocacy groups have documented cases where foreign workers paid illegal recruitment fees, worked in unsafe conditions, or had their passports confiscated by employers. Public outcry and legal actions are pressuring the government to ensure foreign workers are treated fairly and protected. Second, the Canadian economy is in a delicate position. Although there are genuine labor shortages in certain sectors, in others, critics argue that employers have become too reliant on low-wage foreign labor, suppressing wages and displacing Canadian workers. Third, public opinion has shifted sharply as housing affordability reaches crisis levels. Many Canadians blame large increases in temporary and permanent immigration for driving demand in already strained housing markets. In response, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government is trying to strike a balance, maintaining labor supply where it is critically needed while reducing the overall intake of temporary residents to ease housing and service pressures. These changes have sparked mixed reactions. Employers, especially in agriculture and hospitality, warn that labor shortages will worsen, hurting production and services. Worker advocates, on the other hand, applaud the increased protections but caution that the reforms do not go far enough to root out systemic abuse. Meanwhile, some migrant workers are left in limbo. Reports from April 2025 show that growing numbers of foreign workers have lost status as their LMIA, and permit applications languish under slow processing times, sometimes stretching over 165 business days. Critics argue that the system must be made more efficient to avoid leaving workers vulnerable to exploitation or deportation. Another concern is that certain employers may seek to bypass the system altogether by hiring undocumented workers or turning to unscrupulous recruiters, worsening abuses. To counter this, ESDC is expanding its inspection regime and increasing enforcement capacity. So, will Canada's temporary foreign worker program be removed? No, but it is evolving rapidly. In this recalibrated landscape, employers must adapt to tighter hiring caps, shorter permit durations, and greater accountability. Workers must be aware of their rights and understand the limitations of new policies, especially regarding family reunification. The government aims to ensure that TFWP serves the Canadian economy without undermining Canadian workers or enabling exploitation. But the process is far from over. More policy tweaks are expected through 2026 and 2027 as Ottawa responds to shifting economic conditions and public feedback. If you are a temporary foreign worker, an employer using the program, or simply someone following Canadian immigration policy, stay informed and seek expert advice. This is a dynamic and complex space with direct impacts on thousands of lives and businesses. Canada's immigration landscape is changing. TFWP will remain, but under stricter controls that will reshape how the country manages its temporary labor force for years to come. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more updates on Canadian immigration and labor policies. Stay informed and stay empowered.